Chapter 4, At the Island at the End of Everything. The Test, Part 1. The next day, Sister Marguerite comes to collect Nane and me for testing. Although Nane is obviously touched, she has to be checked by the government's doctors so they can give her identification papers. Sister Marguerite tells us that in the places outside all the other islands that make up our country, which we learn about in school, the touched are being collected together and sent on ships to Cullion. She embraces Nane when she opens the door. She looks almost as sad as my mother, her head shrunken in her habit, like a baby in swaddling. I really worry that Nane will be rude because she doesn't like the nuns, but she doesn't even tense up. Instead, she goes slack in her arms. They exchange quiet words in quiet voices that mean I should not listen, so I stay in our bedroom until Nane calls me. She holds my hand very hard, and in her other hand the stick is clutched just as tightly. Though it is only 2 days since Mr. Zamora arrived, new buildings are already growing in the green spaces between the houses on our street. More bamboo has been cut down from the forest and formed into small squares with banana leaf roofs. These will be the homes for the new arrivals. Cullion's feels smaller already, with its gaps filling in. For the first time, it seems less hill and more town. The forest retreating to higher ground. The patch next to the bakery has been trampled completely. Nane's hand twitches in mine. I know she is thinking of the seeds we planted. It will never be a butterfly garden now. Sister Marguerite knocks on all the houses we pass, and neighbours join our procession. It is like when we go to funerals. Everyone is so silent and downcast. Dewa's new baby is tied to her chest. I try to peek, but Dewa has her arms wrapped so close around him, all I can see is his forehead. We pass 12 new houses on our street, some fully built and others where the ground has been flattened and bamboo poles lie in stacks on the ground waiting to be walls. Kapuna and Bondok are amongst the men building, and Sister Marguerite gestures for them to join us. At the end of the road we turn left in the direction of the hospital, and I lose count of all the new buildings. This used to be a stretch of open field, but now trenches for sewage are already dug, and I can see lines of a new street forming. There's no room for gardens, and some of the houses share walls. I never knew how much space there was in our town because all the fields and forests felt necessary. I wonder where all the insects will go. There is a queue of people snaking down the centre of the street, and it is only when Sister Marguerite leads us to the back that I realise the front of the queue is at the hospital far ahead. There are only a dozen beds there, and they are always full. The examinations must be happening in the waiting room or in Dr. Thomas's office inside his house. It shouldn't take that long, says Sister Marguerite to Nane. I have to go and help, but I'll see you and Amihan inside. She walks towards the hospital and begin our wait. I'm good at waiting. I sit down by Nane's feet and watch the builders. But Nane can't sit because she doesn't want to have to stand up again in public. She finds it hard with her touched foot. Dewa's baby wakes with a wail and has to be rocked and fed. A long time passes and I see a house sprout up from a patch of earth like a spring. I don't recognise all the builders, but some are obviously touched. They must have arrived from places outside, maybe on the boat that brought Mr. Zamora. One has a face marked like Nane's, but he doesn't cover it with a cloth. I suppose that soon this will be a leproso area, and no one will have to cover their faces. That will make Nane happier, even though I will not be with her. I have to stop thinking about that quickly. After I watch 2 houses being built and a third starting, I realise that we've been waiting a long time. Even after the sun touches the top of the sky, we've barely moved. I lie down on the grass and Nane does not tell me off, even though I'm wearing my best dress to meet Mr. Zamora's doctors. She is sweating and when Sister Marguerite comes back with pails of water, she and Kapunu drink the whole one between them. Bondoc and I share because this is one of the things you do to stay untouched. They're going to start walking up the line, says Sister Marguerite softly. Anyone with obvious signs will be given their identification papers and sent home, otherwise you'll have to wait. I assume that means me and Bondoc and Diwa too, because she is only touched a little on her foot, so little that it looks like a leaf mulch caught between her toes. You will need to show them your nose, continues Sister Marguerite to Nane. Her voice has an apology in it, and I'm glad it's not Sister Clara doing this job. Then you can go home. Ahead, 4 men are walking along the line. One of them is Dr. Thomas, whose face is pale and miserable, and another is Dr. Zamora. Mr. Zamora. The other 2 men in white coats must be his government doctors, his reinforcements. I hope Dr. Thomas reaches us first. The line is moving quicker now, with many people having obvious signs on their faces or arms, and by the time the government doctor gets to us, we are nearly at the hospital door anyway.